Alright guys, RH1512, and I've been having a lot of trouble with my potato PC right now. And it's a 2007 compact HP computer. It's pretty nasty, but I get through. So today, I'm going to be troubleshooting it with you guys, and hopefully I can help. Alright, so the first thing that you guys are going to need to do when you're troubleshooting a computer, take off the front case. In my case, I'm having some boot loop issues. However, if you have other things, like there is problems with display ports, or there is the operating system won't load, or there's just loud noises coming from it, this will help you troubleshoot it. So when you're having trouble with your computer, the most likely first thing, if you're having trouble with your computer hardware, the first thing that is most likely to mess it up is a device that is not properly seated, like the graphics card, RAM, or in very unlikely situations, the CPU. The first thing that we're going to do to try and troubleshoot this is remove the RAM and then put them in the opposite directions they were before and try turning on the computer.
By the way, I'm recording this Chachi, if you can tell.
Yeah, Chachi behind the camera.
By my voice.
So, we're going to switch them around and put them back in.
Alright. Do you think most cases are similar to this one?
Their motherboard, when you put them back in, so be sure, there's a slot on the RAM and a slot on the motherboard. Be sure that it is in the same orientation as on the motherboard. If it's in the wrong orientation, it could damage the RAM and or motherboard.
Read the manual too. You were saying something about that?
Yes. If you are having trouble with it, or you just don't want to take my word for it, you can consult your motherboard manual, and it will give you the proper installation steps. And in some motherboards, there is only one clip, but when you're installing the RAM in a normal 2-clip motherboard, take both your thumbs, and normally many RAMs, they will have a metal heatsink attached. However, mine is just bare bones. So what you're going to need to do, put it in the correct orientation, put both thumbs on a side, and push down until you hear 2 clicks.
By the way, I'm at a sick angle.
Yeah, this time I'll be quiet, and hopefully you guys can hear the clicks.
I think I'm gonna keep the angle like this. This is dope.
Okay, Chachi.
Yeah, and you can pretty much see what you're doing. That lighting idea was good.
Yeah. I'll be quiet, hopefully you can hear the clicks.
I heard one.
Yep.
Is that it?
Yep, that's pretty much it. And on some motherboards, there is only one clip where it'll go in. In that event, put it in the side where there is no clip, and then push it in the side where there is a clip. It's the same for removing. Simply push the one clip and remove it at an angle from the side that the clip is there. Next up, you need to hook up the computer to the monitor and turn it on and enter BIOS. If you like, you can run a simple systems test to see if it is working and if it can decode a simple hash. If that is the event, it's working. But for the sake of this video, if this is still not working, then what's the next step to do? Check your motherboard manual first, but what you're going to need to do is simply check which slot is preferred for a single channel operation, and then remove the stick that is not completely necessary. Simply do this as before by pushing down the 1 or 2 clips and taking out the stick of RAM. It is good to have a non-conductive surface to put it on, like a box or even a book. I do not have this, and this is very old hardware, and I'm not too worried for it. So just put it down, be more careful than I did, I just dropped it. Now, what you need to do, plug it in and see if it works. If it still doesn't work, and you're sure it's in the correct single channel configuration, take out that stick, and insert the other one. Then plug in everything and power on the system. If it still doesn't work, then we know that the problem is likely not only the RAM. Install the DIMM back into the mother. I installed the DIMM back into the motherboard.
Don't want her laughing.
And then install it the same way as you did before.
Oh, like the opposite way?
Same way.
Oh, same way, sir.
Oh, I didn't hear clips. If you know it's in and it won't go in anything further, and you don't hear the tabs click, but they're nearly there, you can just guide them and push them in. Next troubleshooting step is to take out and put back in the graphics card. So to do this, in my case, it has a screw that keeps me from putting the expansion slots, taking them in and out. Yours may not have this, and it may at the same time. It is also possible that you have one screw for each expansion slots. Undo the screw and put it in a safe location that you will not lose.
Try to keep order, try to keep track of your screws. That's like the number one thing to do.
In my case, I enjoy putting the screws on the power supply, as I typically do not move it much, and it's quite easy to set out from the rest of the stuff.
The lighting's beautiful on that power supply.
And occasionally there will, in fact, be some magnetism on it, but it's very rare.
Yeah.
Next, what you want to do, in my case, there is a little shield guarding everything from falling out, and take it off. Next, when you get to your motherboard, something's falling. Okay, when you get to the motherboard, the graphics card, there is very likely a retention tab at the end of the PCI expansion slot. Right at the end, right there. What you need to do is push that tab down, as you did with the RAM, and find it, push it down completely, and then from both sides at once, wiggle the graphics card out. In fact, I do not think I've pushed the retention tab down far enough. No, I have. And pull it out. It is often a tight fit, and don't be afraid to exert some force. The internet rule, no pressure needed, is very overstated, and that applies only for installation of the CPU. Once it's out, check if there's anything keeping the pins from coming into contact with the motherboard. Look very closely though. Right there, if you can see it, it is missing a little bit of the pin.
Oh, I see that. It's hard to see, but
it's not that big of a deal, so don't stress about it.
I can see that, even on the camera.
Next, what you need to do is reinstall the graphics card into the motherboard, but ensure that the retention tab is still down. So I enjoy just pushing it down quickly right before I put it back in. When you put it in, start by putting it at about a 45-degree angle and put it in right where the little guard for that it goes over the little overhang is. Your case is likely different, and it may or may not have the same features. There is also a tab at the bottom that goes along. There's a little slot for it to go between the motherboard and the case.
Hey!
Ensure that the pins are straight and flush and are in the correct orientation for the PCI Express slot, and that the notch on the graphics card, similar to the RAM, is in the same orientation as the PCI Express slot. It is very obvious which way it goes, as there is display outputs on the card. However, if for some reason you haven't noticed this, or simply just haven't, or simply have no experience with computers and have no idea what you're doing, you always put those facing out of the case unless you want to feed wires through your case and into your graphics card.
Or go to school.
Now what you want to do is plug it back in and test it.
So I'll just get
It will likely work by now, but if for some reason it still doesn't work, forget everything else. We've ruled that out. If you have an APU, which is a CPU with integrated graphics, take out the graphics card and try using just that. If it's still doing the same thing as before, replace the graphics card, as you know that's not the problem, and go to the last possible culprit, the hard drive. What you need to do is, on the motherboard, there are serial ATA or SATA ports. It is normally a red wire, and...
Can you point that out?
Yes, they're a red wire, as you can see as I'm pointing at it, and it goes in right here.
Huh.
Many motherboard configurations are different. As this is an older model, it simply has 4 vertical SATA ports. In my case, it's a very old system. However, it does use SATA 3, characterized by the clip holding it in place, versus SATA 2 not having it. So on the motherboard, if you have SATA 3, push the pin in,
Sorry, I can't see that. Oh.
and pull it out.
So can you show us what pin?
Yes. A pin right there.
Yeah.
You can push it in.
Oh.
It's a little retention clip.
Similar
to the RAM and...
Can I ask what that noise was?
To me, it sounded like a volcano warning, but...
Or a shark warning.
Yeah. Ben, you've been watching too much of that reality TV.
I know.
Okay. So next, turn it on and see if you can enter the BIOS. If you still can't enter the BIOS, it's likely your system is either bricked, the power supply is not supplying sufficient energy, or it is not capable of powering your system.
What?
It is also possible if you can't enter the BIOS that the BIOS or UEFI chip is dead or corrupted. If you don't have dual channel UEFI or BIOS, that is a problem. You may need a new board.
Do you think it would be better off getting a new PC then, or just getting a new board?
I would recommend, if you have a system like me, it's not worth spending the money on a board that you're soon going to upgrade. I would simply use a secondary PC if you have one, until you get a new PC.
Yeah, like you're doing.
However, if you don't have access to a secondary one, and you only have a very limited amount of money, you can try buying a new board. However, this board is very outdated, and it would be somewhat hard to find the correct
model.
Yeah, a correct board for your processor. Also, be sure that you have sufficient cooling in the case. Well, I hope I have helped you guys, and once you're done troubleshooting, be sure to put everything back together the same way you took it apart. I hope you helped some of you guys out. Archie1512 signing out.
Peace.